Hello, everybody. Welcome again. I hope I am audible. I hope I am live on all our different platforms. And I hope you guys are ready again for the next session of our free course on Microsoft Azure Fundamentals AZ900. This is the session number third. We were live yesterday. So if you are again joining us for the third session, let me welcome you again. Welcome back. And if you are joining us for the very first time, then where were you? Again, then also welcome again to this wonderful thing that we are doing at K21 Academy, where you learn from the experts. My name is Shavanshin Thakur, and I'm your host and moderator for today's session. And we had an incredible session yesterday for all the people who joined in. Thank you very much for joining in. I hope you learned something new. I hope you educated yourself, and K21 and we at K21 Academy helped you a little in your journey to maybe switching into your cloud or progressing in your cloud career. So for all the people who haven't registered already, for this free course that we are doing, and we are going live for almost this is the third session. There are two more sessions. Make sure you register at k21academy.com /az900 live. The reason why it is so important to register for it is because the moment you register for it, you'll get the automatically you get the email notification with all the different links where we are going live. Along with that, maybe around the end or maybe in the middle before the next session, we'll be providing you other little educational pieces like links to different blogs regarding Azure, or the certification itself, the certification exam, or maybe something else. We are regularly sending you free stuff on your email. So make sure you register at k21academy.com /az900 live. So we'll be going live in 4 minutes or so. So in the meantime, if you have any friends who are interested in this and have not joined in yet, make sure you call them up, let them know to come up maybe on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you guys are joining us on, and join us for this incredible session that we are about to start. And apart from that as well, let me mention one little more thing. You know the ritual, you know the drill. Make sure you put it in the comment section, whether it's your first session, second session, or your third session. I will be having a look at it as well. And it really gives us, it's very important that you mention that so that we also have an idea about which session it is. So we won't be covering the things that we've already covered once or twice in session number one and session number two. And if it is your first session, don't worry. We got you covered as well. The recordings are available as well, but you need to register yourself first at k21academy.com /az900 live. So you've got 3 minutes or so to grab whatever snacks you want, whatever drinks you want, and then sit down for almost 2 hours or so to learn. See you in 3 or so minutes, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, the timer hits zero and we are live, guys. Thank you very much again for everybody for joining in. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are energetic. I see a lot of you guys are joining us for the very first session. It's completely fine, guys. Don't worry. We will try to cover as much as we can from the initial session, but it's fine even if we're not able to cover that, because all the sessions till now, the session number one, session number two, are recorded. So you can go to our YouTube channel at k21academy.com /YouTube, and or you can just go to YouTube and search K21 Academy. Over there you can see in the videos that these two live sessions are already available over there. So don't worry about that. Even if you are missed, I mean, it's kind of a slight setback for you because you are not going to be able to ask it out. Yeah, you can ask them in the comments. We will get back to you, but that instant reply won't be there. It's completely fine. You can't win all your races, right? So it's completely fine, guys. The recordings will be available, so you guys can watch the recordings eventually, but make sure you try to attend these sessions live, because even if you have any doubts regarding whatever the trainer or whatever we're teaching at these sessions, you can ask them instantly. Okay, so everybody, welcome Rakesh, Lalit, Barbara, Anand, Farhan, welcome everybody. Since a lot of you guys are joining us for the very first time, make sure you register at k21academy.com /AZ900 live. This is what the interface is going to look like when you go at this particular link that's mentioned down below. And you can get all these things. We are covering these topics we are covering 6 modules for 5 days. Make sure you go and register right now so that you guys can get the notification email. You guys can get the extra free stuff that we are giving you guys. That could be anything ranging from sample interview questions to sample exam questions, a lot of links to different blogs that we are putting out. So make sure you register it here so that you won't be missing out on any good stuff. Manoj, welcome. Second session, completely fine, guy. I don't know which one you missed, so please do mention which one have you missed. We are starting out a little slow. It's 54 people, guys. Please do hit the like button if you are joining us for maybe the first time or the second time, and if you are a third timer, you're a legend. Okay, you know the drill. Again, introduce yourself, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or an expert. Put it in the comment section wherever you guys are watching it. Welcome, Mohammed. Wherever you guys are watching it, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, doesn't matter. Put it there, and I'll have a look at myself. Maybe give a few shout outs as well to the people who are commenting it down. Welcome, Ravi. Welcome, Naveen. Welcome, Amarnath as well. So this is usually this slide that I show you guys regarding am I not audible? Okay, I'm audible. So this is usually the feedback slide that we show, that we really actually value our feedback. Please do put it in throughout the session. Whether if the trainer is going too fast, please put it in the comment section below. We will ask them to maybe slow down a little bit. If you are not able, if the screen is not visible properly, we'll try to resolve that as well, because we want our feedbacks to be 5, and we are willing to put in the effort as well. So make sure if you are having any any problems in that part, put it in the comment section. We will be addressing all of them. Okay, so since a few of you guys are joining us for the first session, let me just quickly quickly go through this. So this is like a chart that we have regarding the Azure certifications that are out there, and at which level, which certification you should cover, and which one is the most beneficial for you as well. So we start with at the very basic, at the beginner level, at the fundamentals. What we are covering right now, that's Microsoft certified Azure fundamentals. Then at the associate level, that is the intermediate level around, we've got 3 certifications. We've got Microsoft certified Azure administrator associate, and we've got Microsoft certified Azure developer associate as well. And for the people who are into security, that's there. We also have Microsoft certified Azure security engineer associate as well. If you are somebody who did write expert, then we have Microsoft certified Azure DevOps engineer expert, and the crown piece, the crown jewel that we have. That's Microsoft Certified Azure Solutions Architect Expert. Now, this particular certification is what means, or what we would like to call it, the big bucks, because this is the certification that gets you the high paying jobs. There's a huge demand for people who are Microsoft certified Azure Solutions Architect in the industry at the very moment. And if you are actually interested in it, make sure you stay till the end. Make sure you're very attentive, because there's going to be a point where I'm going to give you a little gift, so that you can explore your horizons to know better about the certification. We have got you covered on that part as well. Okay, Rakesh, if you are a partially beginner, that means you're an intermediate. So it's completely fine. You can mention intermediate as well. Amber, yes, the session will be recorded. Don't worry about that. And the previous recordings, you can find it at K21 Academy's YouTube channel as well. So don't worry about that. So for all the people, again, the people, I see that a lot of you guys are joining in for the first session. So I'm glad I did not take the slide away. You can get a free Azure account at the very moment. Go at k21academy.com/Azure02. And over there, there's a blog, there's a video, and there are proper links as well about how you can actually, get a free Microsoft Azure account, trial account. This is what I was talking about. For all the people who are actually interested in Microsoft Azure Solutions Architect certification, we have got a free class absolutely for free, and you can, it's going to be taught by the same trainer who's taking these sessions, which you so far, I am definitely sure you're loving it, because the ratings are only 5, and majority of them, 99% are 5, and maybe there's one 4 or something that we can't really hit that. So if you want to register for it, go at k21academy.com/Azure SA02. These are the different things that you're going to get, like I had mentioned in the beginning as well, that you get everything from a beginner standpoint of view, somebody who does not know much about it. And we have tried to cover that aspect, that we can make you understand from the very basic, what is this certification, who this certification is from, why you should be learning Azure cloud. And with all of that, we are not just sticking to theory, we are also trying to push in demo sessions as well. So we really, at K21 Academy, we really believe that hands-on labs are actually the things that are gonna get you started in your career. So we've got a demo session as well, in which we show you how to deploy an Azure container instance. So go ahead, do it. So register register yourself at k21academy.com/Azure SA02. There are only limited seats. You have to go fast and save your seat right now. Again, for all the people who are watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel at, again, k21academy.com/YouTube, because even if you did not register for it, if you're a subscriber and you've followed us, you will get the notification whenever we go live. So this is our guest, our trainer for the evening, Mr. Rishabh. He is, I mean, to be honest, you guys can very much see on the screen, he has a lot of Microsoft certifications to his name. He's also a Microsoft certified trainer as well. And he's got 4+ years of training experience. He's been taking this session so far, and you've been loving them so far as well. He's a solutions architect, security, DevOps, as SAP on Azure as well. And you will actually see what I'm talking about in reality throughout the session. If it's your first session, and if it's your second or third, you already know what kind of trainer he is, and how much you yourself enjoy learning from him. So over to you, Rishabh sir. Now I'll give you the access to you. Could you please share your screen now?
Sure. So I hope, guys, it is visible to everyone, and I'm audible to everybody as well.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shivansh, for the introduction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just could you please hide that? Stop sharing the screen that is sharing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Welcome to everyone, guys. Welcome to this particular course. Now, guys, we have already covered, some of the topics, right? So you have already have a fair understanding that what are the resources that you can create on Azure, how the architecture of Azure looks like, what are the things that you need to take care before you will go ahead and deploy any sort of the resources in any of the data center. And we talked about the architectural components, that how you can meet your high availability requirements using that. We also talked about different other services, for an example, how your connectivity looks like, how you can manage your tools, how you can create resources, and how you will be able to manage them efficiently. Now, in our yesterday session, we talked about your IoT devices. We talked about how IoT central platform can be utilized, and we also talked about that how your Synapse and big data analytical tools works within Azure. We also talked about different section of the tooling. Let's yes, you can use your DevOps environment. You can use it for many other services for the resource creation. And also we talked about that not only the creation of the resource, how you can actually go ahead and manage them efficiently, and how your the policies and the security posture looks like, right? So these are a bunch of things, guys, that we have covered so far. Now today we're going to talk about your security and the networking security features over here. So now, guys, when you talk about general security, security is a big concept, because whenever you will be creating the resources, one need to understand that what are the areas that we will be implementing the security, and what Microsoft has already covered for us. Now when you talk about the general security and the network security, we need to understand what are the services that Microsoft has given us on Azure, that we can probably utilize them in order to create a secure environment. Now, today we'll guys going to talk about your security center services, which is provided by Microsoft, that how you can get the security recommendation. There is another service that we have, Key Vault, where you can keep your secret informations like your connection string, keys, certificates over there. Further, we have SIM tool and SOAR response creation services. That is your Azure Sentinel that we can use over here. So, guys, recommendation is one thing, but if something happened, we need to respond to that particular situation. Now, what are the options that we have over here? We'll talk about Azure Sentinel service over here, which can help us in order to track those kind of the challenges and enable to mitigate those kind of the security issues as well. Further, we're going to talk about dedicated host. Now, the people who would like to use private cloud, and they would like to create their resources in a dedicated data centers, right? Now, there could have been the possibilities of private cloud, resources that you would like to have more control on that particular resources, and you would like to keep it in a particular data center of Azure. So you do have that particular option. Further, we're going to talk about defense in depth mechanism. Now, once we say defense in depth, security is a layered approach, guys, right? Whether it is required for the user authentication and the other authorization, whether we are talking about networking component, whether we are talking about the application components, or when it comes about data security through the encryption. So we'll talk about defense in depth mechanism, that what are the areas that we have that we need to cover when it comes to the security. And further, we're going to talk about network security groups, your NSGs, that how NSGs will be helping you in order to have a control on incoming and outgoing flow of the traffic in your network. So we're going to talk about that. Further, we're going to talk about your firewalls, which helps you working at layer 7 as well, and how you will be able to ensure that you can have a control on fully qualified domain names traffic, right? So let's say if there will be a website that you would like to block, or probably you would like to channelize the traffic securely through firewall on a dedicated web application internally or externally. So you will have a control for incoming and outgoing traffic for that. And further, we're going to talk about your DDoS protection, that is your distributed denial of service protection, and why we need it, and what will be the consequences if there will be business critical resource which will be impacted due to DDoS. So we're going to talk about all of that today, guys. Now, this is today agenda, guys. So we're going to emphasize today on your security center, including the policy compliance, security alerts, your secure score, and your resource hygiene. Further, we're going to talk about Azure Sentinel service, and then your key vault. And we're going to talk about your Azure dedicated host, defense in depth, your NSG, your ASG, that is your application security group, how application security group is different, or how you can go ahead and implement it. And also, we're going to talk about Azure firewalls. And then we're going to talk about Azure DDoS protection. Now, let's start, guys. So, guys, when we talked about Azure Security Center, guys, first of all, it is a managed service. So it means you are just a user who will be using this particular service. You don't have to manage any particular underlying feature of this particular service, guys. So your Azure Security Center is a monitoring service that provides threat protection across both Azure and non Azure resources. Now, guys, non-Azure resources, we are saying that it is on-premises data center, but could have been the possibility that you have resources available on AWS. You have resources available on GCP as well. And if you are looking for, security for those resources as well, Security Center is capable of providing the recommendation for those resources as well, guys. Now, where you will be able to get this recommendation? So, guys, in our previous session, in yesterday's session, we talked about one service called Azure Advisor, and we talked about that Azure Advisor is a service which is capable of providing the recommendation on the basis of performance, on the basis of reliability, also known as high availability, and also on the basis of the security, your operational excellence, and on the basis of the cost as well. Now, guys, one of the area is security from the Azure Advisor, and that security recommendation comes from the Security Center. Now we can probably see it, guys, that how we can go ahead and use it. So, guys, in order to show you that, I have just created a virtual machine already, right? Because we required a bunch of resource just to show that how Security Center works. Now, guys, yesterday we talked about Azure Advisor, which gives you the recommendation on the basis of cost, security, reliability, operational excellence, and performance. And you will be able to get those recommendations over here. But let's say I want to get the security recommendation. Now, from where I will be getting these recommendations? So, guys, this security recommendations are always coming from the Security Center. Now, how to enable it? So, guys, for that, you can go to your Security Center place over here. And the moment you will be getting into the Security Center, this is how your Security Center portal looks like. Now, guys, this service takes times to enable. So, guys, by default, there are certain recommendations that Microsoft already covering, but there are few more advanced recommendations you may want to look into, right? And whenever you will be managing your databases or managing your resources, right? So this is the way, guys, that how you can enable it. So when you click on get started, right, there will be an agent that will be available, that you can install that agent. And that agent is nothing, that is your Azure Defender agent, which will give you further recommendation. So whenever you are talking about your on-premises recommendations, right, all these recommendations will be the part of your Azure Defender. So you can just enable this. And the moment you will be enabling this particular agent, right, you will get a message that this particular agent installation will be proceeded over here. And once this will be done, guys, right, you will be able to get further recommendations. Now, let's say if I will click on recommendations, you can see bunch of recommendation, and that recommendation will help you that what kind of the security that you will be following. Now, guys, being a solution architect or being a security engineer or an administrator, it's our job to ensure that resources should be secure. But if Microsoft is providing the recommendation, it means I can follow the best practices, and somebody is there to recommend security requirements at each and every stage, whether it's a network security, whether it's your Azure Active Directory security, or whether it's a database security, or many more, guys. Any resources that you will be creating, right? You will be getting the recommendation for all of them. Now, over here, that it provides you the security recommendation, detect and block malware, analyze and identify potential attacks, and just-in-time access control for the ports. Now, let's take it one by one. Now, guys, when you talk about the security recommendation, as I mentioned earlier, the security have a broader picture over here. Let's say you have created a web application. Now that website required a protection, right? So how you will make sure that whether you have implemented the security properly or not? So Microsoft will give you the recommendations for that. Probably you have created a virtual machine and there is a public IP enabled on that particular machine, which can be accessible from any location. Now, that could have been the area where the security can be impacted. So, guys, for that, Microsoft has given just-in-time access, that you can give time-bound access on that public IP, and the user who will be needing those access need to request for that access. And even if you will be approving it, that particular person will be getting a time-bound access. Now guys, if it is a time bound access, you know that after certain duration of time, let's say 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever you will be providing, that user will automatically be removed from the accessibility. And again, it will going to help you to protect your environment. So guys, your just in time access is nothing but a way of implementation of the security by reducing the area of attack. It means that public IP is not available for everyone, only the person who will be requesting it and getting the approval, and that too it is a time bound access for them. Now further, like detecting and block the malware. Now guys, there are certain level of artificial intelligence is already involved, and that is totally controlled by Microsoft. So let's say you have created a virtual machine, and further, there will be any attack can be possible. And let's say there are certain user access policies that you have created, or maybe you have created bunch of administrators and you forget to enable multi-factor authentication on those users. Your Microsoft Azure Security Center will give you the recommendations for that as well. If you have created any container images and there are certain vulnerability assessments are required, so your Azure Defender will be able to do that as well. Now guys, over here I have just enabled this particular setting, so this will take some time before it will give you bunch of recommendations over here, right? Now guys, the moment you will be enabling this particular agent, right, the moment you will be enabling this particular agent, you can go into the coverage section and you can check whether your entire subscription is fully falling under the you can say the security area of your Azure Security Center or not. And guys, here you can see that your Azure Defender can help you in continuous assessment and security recommendation, and you can also get a secure score as well. Now guys, secure score will be like your information that how better security you have implemented. Higher the score, better security you have implemented. Now guys, let's say you are running low on this particular score. So guys, your recommendations are not only giving you the recommendations, but also it will give you the points that following which recommendation, how much points that you can increase, and you can ensure that your security score will be remain intact. So your security score is kind of your you can say your security posture, that higher the security score, the better security you have implemented. Now, there are a bunch of other options, further recommendation that like you can see over here, like your just-in-time access feature that you can have, adaptive application control, network hardening, regulatory and compliance dashboards. So let's say if you are from the compliance team, you want to make sure that all the resources that you have created within Azure should be remain 100% compliant. Now, guys, compliance need can be changing from the organization to organization. Maybe you are working for a medical firm, or maybe you are working for a government firm, and definitely guys, different organization will have a different policies, and you can bring your own policies and you can also get a recommendations on top of that as well. You can have further Azure and non-Azure servers as well, and you can also get a recommendation for that those resources which are not even hosted in Azure. So it is not, guys, that you are just only using Azure for 20 to 25% of your workloads. Let's say you have some workloads available on the on-premises or any cloud platform as well, you can get the recommendation for that. Now guys, you can see there are a bunch of connectors available that you can use in order to connect your Google platform accounts, right, Google cloud platforms, and you can also connect your AWS accounts as well, and your security center will help you providing the recommendation for those kind of the accounts as well. You can configure them, guys, over here. So guys, your security center have a very vast area where it will be covering for the recommendation. And there can be a possibility, guys, for the human, it will be really difficult to cover each and every security posture manually to up to its full potential that you will be able to utilize. So it's better to follow the recommendation and make sure that your resources are 100% compliant, and you are not leaving any particular loophole behind whenever you will be implementing any sort of the security, right? So it will identify and analyze your potential attacks as well, and it will give you the recommendations. So guys, currently the picture what you will be looking at over here, it will be showing that you have 40 Azure subscription, right, and one of the AWS account as well that you have configured, and there are 4 GCP projects ongoing over here. And you can see, guys, over here on the basis of the report, you can see your Azure Defender covering how many resources over here, and there are regulatory and compliance reports as well that you can enable for them. And further, there are insight options, and you can have hundreds of alerts that you will be able to create. Now, right now, we don't have 40 subscriptions running, but if you go over here and if you click on the recommendations, right? So currently you can see that, high, medium, low severities options available, right? And further, there are certain options available for the security alerts. So you can create your own KQL queries, and on the basis of that, you can create alerts as well, guys. And you can run the queries, and on the basis of that, you can get the options, you can create charts, and you can do the analytics as well. So not only from the security aspect, you can probably see what are the changes that you have done in your security postures and whether those are fruitful for you or not, or required any further improvements or not. If you click on inventory, you will be able to find out that your security center, see, these are bunch of resources that I have created in the past, and your inventory will be showing all those resources what they will be covering. Some of the resources I have already deleted, and that is the reason they are showing that 8 resources that I have created earlier in the past, those are remains unhealthy over here. So these are a bunch of options. You can have non-Azure resources that it will ask you to create your log analytics workspace where you can bring your logs and you can get the recommendations or any suspected activity which you will be getting over there, right? So not only that, guys, you do have regulatory and compliance options available that you can enable. So you can get into regulatory and compliance, you can get into your managed compliance policy, and you can enable all those standards for you. Maybe I would like to follow PCI standards. Maybe I would like to enable your ISO compliant, SOC, multiple options available. You can even add more standards as well. Let's say I would like to be available and I want to ensure that all resources that I have created, right, should be NIST compliant, right? So depending on your area, right, depending on your location, there are different compliance policy. Probably I'm handling New Zealand based customers and I would like to ensure that those resources should be compliant from the New Zealand ISM restricted compliant. So you can bring this particular standard and you can make this particular standard as a part of your policy, and whatever recommendations that you will be getting on the basis of that. So guys, you can bring additional standards over here, and guys, you can get all your recommendations over here. Now if in case tomorrow you need to download a report, you can directly download a PDF file on the basis of that particular report, right? And you can see what all resources are compliant and what all resources are not. So isn't it wonderful, guys, that somebody is already taking care of all these things. So where to target for the security and what are your non-compliant resources that you can probably look into, right? So guys, these are bunch of options that you will be finding in your Azure Security Center, which will ensure that your resources can remain 100% compliant. Now for just-in-time access that you can show, guys, you can go into your virtual machine. You can enable either from the security center or you can enable from your resource as well. That let's say I would like to create connection over RDP. So right now, if I try to take the RDP, it will directly giving me the option to download. But guys, Microsoft is also giving you the recommendation to improve the security. You can enable just-in-time access. The moment you will create, right? If you want to enable just-in-time access, right? So over here, you can enable your just-in-time access and you can save this over here, right? So this is the option available. Now if you would have enabled this from the security center, it would have given you the option that what are ports that you would like to enable on this particular machine, right? So we'll talk about it, guys, because for the understanding of your just-in-time access, we need to discuss the network security group, which will have the control on your network accessibility. So guys, if you go into your network security group now, your just-in-time access had just enabled an inbound rule for the RDP over here, right? Over port 3389. Are we able to follow, guys? So this is something which is your just-in-time access, which has been enabled over here. Now, if a user required an access now, your RDP will not be immediately downloaded. It will ask you to request for the access, and in the backend, it will be generating your audit logs. So if any goof up happened on this particular machine, you know that which particular user you have to question. So if I will try to download the RDP now, see guys, it is now not downloading it directly. It will be asking you to request the access over here, right? And only once the request access has been approved, only then you will be able to take the RDP, right? So guys, these are some of the ways that you can ensure that your security posture remain intact. You can get the assistance of your security score, and you can enable your security as per the recommendation provided by Azure, right? So these are a bunch of options, guys, that you can use from the security center. Now, what are the other capabilities of the security center? So one of them I have already shown you guys, your policy compliance, that your security center is built on top of your Azure policy controls. So you can set and monitor your policies to run on management groups across subscription and even for a whole tenant, right? So definitely, guys, the recommendations are coming from your Active Directories as well, and you can ensure that you can not only cover the policies related to bunch of resources, but you can cover the entire tenant. So it means that you can cover multiple subscription at a time over here, right? Further, we have security alerts as well. Now, security alerts help you taking an action on the basis of an event, because your alerts are nothing but these are event driven mechanism. Now, these event driven mechanism are not only going to help you with the notification, but you can capture the logs on the basis of that. You can integrate it. You can take action on the basis of your logic app, function app. Now, logic app and function app we have already discussed, so you have an understanding about the serverless mechanism through which you will be able to take action, and those can be also integrated with your alerts as well. So on basis of any event, if you would like to run or execute a code, you can use Azure functions. If you like to create a workflow on the basis of an alert, you can use your logic app. Or just in case if you like to use a connector, you can probably use webhooks as well, and you can ensure that that particular trigger will be integrated with your HTTP and HTTPS based API, and that also can take the action on the basis of the alerts. So, guys, n number of options available. Your security alerts that you will be creating in your Azure Security Center will be giving you the choice that you can directly integrate with your logic apps as well. So I'm going back to the security center, guys. Over here, if you go for the workflow automation, over here you can configure the action on the basis of the alert. You can give a name, my test alert over here. You can select the resource group where you would like to trigger it. And guys, these are your threat detection alerts that you can create. Or maybe I would like to create a trigger mechanism that whenever the recommendation will be coming from the Microsoft side, or maybe any resources which are remaining out of compliance, I would like to create an alert. And not only that, guys, it is giving you the option to integrate with your workflow, that is your logic app, and you can create a logic app and you can select over here, and you can also categorize them on the basis what kind of the alert will be bucketizing in what particular category. If any threat alert will be coming in, I would like to keep it under the category of high severity, and I can give a name, let's say my test over here, and you can create from here. Now, for that, guys, you need to create a logic app first, because logic app will be your event driven workflow that you have created and we have covered in our previous sessions. So I request you please go to that particular video and see, guys, how the logic app can be created and how you can create alerts on the basis of it. So you just need to integrate and your workflow will be able to take action. So what we have mentioned over here, that it can collect, analyze, integrate log data for your Azure resources, right? And like your firewall endpoint protection and detects and real threats, and then list of prioritizing your security alerts is shown in the security center, guys. Secure score, guys, as we already know, that on the basis of the assessment what your security center is providing the recommendation, they will also give you bunch of scores over here for those resources, and you can follow those recommendations and you can take action on the basis of those recommendations as well. Now, guys, earlier it was not providing any score. Now, as I have created a virtual machine, out of 42 points, I have only covered 5, and there are 11% is the secure score. And how to improve it, guys? For that, I can directly get into the recommendation pane over here, and you can see bunch of recommendations available, that you need to follow these recommendations in order to ensure that your security can remain intact. See, guys, it is coming from various different resources over here. So it is not only VM that they are covering, they have covered all resources that I have created in the past. So if I go into your inventory option, you can also see on what basis they are providing the recommendation and what all resource they will be covering. And if you go into your Azure Defender over here, guys, you will be able to see what are resources, guys. See the just-in-time access, what we have enabled, right? You can see, guys, you can select, you can also enable it from here as well, right? So this is your 3389 port that we have enabled. You can say that, okay, somebody requesting the access should have the access for 8 hours, and you can also target that particular duration and you can save it as well, right? And that is as per request, guys. So these are a bunch of options, guys, that you can have. You can run your container images scan, you can do the vulnerability assessment if you have any particular database, and you can manage all of them. And your resource security hygiene, so your security visibility and the recommendations by resources as well. So secure score is your security center continuously assess your resources for security issues and then aggregates all findings into a single score so that you can tell your security situation. And this is what we have just seen, guys, over here, right? So you can get into the recommendations and you can get your score higher on the basis of that, and what recommendation will be giving you how many points and how many increase in the percentage. You can also track it from here as well. Now proceeding further from the security center, now guys, further service that we have is your Azure Sentinel. Now guys, recommendation is one thing, but how about if something happened within the production and I would like to take an action on the basis of that, and I want an artificial intelligence mechanism to continuously take an action on those things, right? Now we are not talking about the recommendations anymore. We are talking about to taking the action on the basis of anything which has been detected. So for that particular requirement, Microsoft has given us this particular service, that is your Azure Sentinel, and is scalable, cloud native, and your security information event management. That is what I was referring. That is SIEM tool that we have, and your security orchestration automated response. That is your source solution. So not only it will be able to detect, but it can respond to that particular situation as well. So guys, it will be collecting the data. Now guys, your data collection will be done by a service called your log analytics workspace, that whenever you will be capturing the logs. Now guys, without logs you cannot detect anything, right? So whenever you need to take an action, definitely you need to enable and your logging section, and you need to ensure that you will be capturing those logs on which all these suspected activities can be identified. So you need to target the areas which you would like to secure, and on the basis of that you will be able to capture the logs and you will be able to take action. So collect data at your cloud scale across all users, devices, application, and your infrastructure, both on premises and in multiple clouds, right? Now, how you will be able to capture the data for that? So for that, guys, you can go into all services. You can just mention Sentinel over here. And the moment you will be creating a Sentinel service, the first thing it will ask to create your log analytics workspace. Now that's where you will be capturing all the logs. So if I'll create a log analytics workspace, let's say I have selected my active subscription over here, I'll be selecting my resource group, and I will be creating a log analytics workspace. So my test log new, let's say I have created this name. This name has to be unique, and you have created this in the East US region. And let's see, guys, whether this name is unique. Yes, it is. And I'm creating this log analytics workspace to capture the logs. Now, once it will be able to capture the logs, your Sentinel can take the action. Now, who will be sending logs to your log analytics workspace? So, guys, there are hundreds of resources that you will be working within the production requirement, and you can integrate those resources with your log analytics workspace so that your log analytics workspace have the data which Sentinel will be able to utilize to take the action. And there are bunch of resources, guys, which can directly integrate with the Sentinel, like your Azure Active Directory, your DDoS protection services, or your activity logs, which is directly coming from the subscription. And you can integrate those services and you can take the actions. You can create alert on the basis of that, and you can integrate further other services like your logic app, your functions. So guys, you can see your log analytics workspace is done, and I'm adding it in your Azure Sentinel service. Now, meanwhile, this addition is going on. I can go into your log analytics workspace and I can integrate my resources with this particular service as well. So there are a bunch of options, guys, which are available. You can go to your virtual machine section and see the test VM is not connected right now. And you can connect this particular resource to send logs to your log analytics workspace. That's where your Sentinel will be able to know that what is there in that particular machine, and your Sentinel will be able to take action on the basis of that. So your Sentinel will take a while. Now, meanwhile, it can also investigate threats with artificial intelligence and hunt for suspicious activity. Now, hunting is a process which helps you diagnosing that particular data which you have collected, and on the basis of the suspected activity, with the help of your artificial intelligence mechanism, it will be able to suspect, it will able to diagnose, and further, it can also take the response. So respond to incidents rapidly with built-in orchestration and your automation of common tasks over here. So the log collection part will be done by your log analytics workspace or your connector resources. Your detection will be done on the basis of the artificial intelligence and on the basis of the queries that you will be creating in the backend. And investigation will be done on the basis of those queries and the scan which is happening on the schedule basis. Let's say every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I would like to run hundreds of queries in the backend for scanning. And guys, this is something which can be automated, or if you like to do it forcefully, let's say I want to scan it right away right now, you can also go into the hunt and you can also trigger those particular queries as well, and on the basis of that you can respond if there will be anything detected suspiciously over there. So guys, your Sentinel service should be available. Now, the moment you will go to your Azure Sentinel, these are bunch of data connector options which are available that you can now connect to your Sentinel. So once you have collected, now this is the time that you will be handing over that data to Sentinel, so the Sentinel can analyze that information. Now you can have bunch of options available. Let's say I would like to target Azure activities. Any activities within Azure suspiciously, I would like to target and connect to your Azure Sentinel, and you will be able to target that particular data. And not only that, guys, you can take the actions as well. So here, bunch of options available that you can go to analytics, and here you can configure your high alerts on the basis of that as well, right? So you can write your own queries over here, and further you can also, there are analytical templates which are available, guys. So let me go back to the Sentinel page where you can find your analytics templates, and you can create bunch of rules over here. See guys, high severity, medium, low, any kind of the actions that you would like to integrate over here, right? See guys, there are few has been created by Microsoft already. These are not created by us, guys. Microsoft has already created for us for the security requirements, and you can also create of your own as well, and you can decide on what basis the suspections can be happening over here. So you can see pre-attack, initial attacks, execution, persistence, privileges, execution, and many more over here. Now, on the basis, not only that you will be able to take a action or respond, guys, further you have the hunting process as well, which Microsoft has already created hundreds of queries which will be executed over here, and it will be able to, you can also able to run it, guys. The moment you will click on run, guys, see 141 queries are running in the backend just to scan your workloads over here. And on the basis of that, you can raise an incident as well, and you can configure a mechanism to take an action, right? So these are the things, guys, that you need to know about your Azure Sentinel, that it will collect, detect, investigate, and respond over here. Clear, guys? And proceeding further from the Azure Sentinel. Now, guys, there are few more services that you may need to look into to design your security posture. Now, guys, before getting into the key vault, I hope, guys, you have an understanding that how you can get the recommendation and how you can take action. Recommendation was the part that your security center has covered, and your action part has covered by your Azure Sentinel service. But what if I need to keep my security information to a particular place? Now, this time we are talking about storing those security information in a particular location. Now, guys, any kind of the data required a place and you can create security. But what if you need to create a key, encryption key, and you would like to store that key somewhere? So where you will be keeping your data secure with the help of the key, and this time you required a storage where you need to keep your security information. Now guys, definitely you required very high security to that particular storage where you keeping your security information, right? There can be bunch of common passwords. There can be connection string. Let's say your website is connected to the database and you want your connection string to be secured, because guys, if you will be keeping your connection string directly in the code, and tomorrow if any hacker will be able to get into the code, they know that what to use in order to access the database. So rather keeping your connection string directly in the code, it is better to use your Azure Key Vault service, where you can store those kind of the connection string, those kind of the keys, certificates, and your HSMs, which are hardware security modules, like your hardware based tokens. So your Azure Key Vault stored application, your secrets in a centralized cloud location in order to securely control access permission and access login, guys. Now, instead that somebody is directly using the connection string from the code, you have kept the code in the key vault, and then your web application required a secure access to the key vault to retrieve that connection string. Now that secure access, you can create your access policy and you can grant that permission. Now if tomorrow any breach happen, your hacker will have no clue where that connection string has been stored, because you implemented a policy for the accessibility for that particular service. You can create service principals as well, or you can assign a role based access control. Now what is role based access control, how we can go ahead and manage that, we will be discussing in our next session, that whenever we will have. Currently, we just need to understand that your Key Vault is a secure service where you can keep all the security information securely, guys. Now, what all things that you can keep? So your secrets management, your Key Vault can be used to securely store your tightly control access to the token, passwords, certificates, API keys, and your other secrets over here. Further, it can also help you keeping your certificate management, and your Azure Key Vault lets you easy enroll, manage, and deploy public and private transport layer security, and your SSL certificate, that is your secured sockets layer certificates as well. Now, these are a bunch of options that you will be getting in your Key Vault, that you can either create or either import those information as well. So guys, it's not mandatory that you should be creating key directly in the Key Vault. If you're already using a key on the on premises, you can also directly import that particular key, and you don't need to create a key right away. Or probably if you want to create a key, these are standards available, like RSA standard, EC standard for your cryptographic keys, where you can decide the size of the key. You can decide when this particular key will be automatically renewed, so or when this particular key will be expired. Now it is not only for the key, guys. Similarly, you can also have your certificates. You can decide that which particular certificate will be valid for how many duration, and which particular certificate can be activated at what duration of time. And you can manage all your security requirements with the help of your Key Vault, where you are keeping all your security information. So key management, your Azure Key Vault can also be used as a key management solution. So that also, guys, you can do. You can go into all services. You have the service available for the Key Vault, guys, that you can directly create, right? There are other bunch of options, guys, if you want to include your hardware based tokens. So there are premium services associated with them. So you can select that. You can give a unique name over here, and here, guys, you can have the option to select the pricing tier. You have the access policies, so you can see, guys, that which particular user will be accessing it, and not only, guys, which user will be accessing, what action a user can do in the Key Vault. You can control that level of the security over here. If you don't want to give a control on the delete, you can revoke that control as well from the that particular user. And after that, you can create this particular Key Vault and you can manage them, guys. So this level of the accessibility you can have. If any deployment is going on, you want to fetch a password, or you want to fetch a disk encryptions for any template deployment or any disk encryption requirements, you can create them. And not only that, guys, you can also create a network foundation as well, that this Key Vault can be accessible from a particular network only. So guys, this much security you can create in the Key Vault, and you can restrict user not to access the Key Vault through the access policies, as well as you can create network dependency as well. And you can create this particular service. So now, guys, you can certainly understand how secure Key Vault is. Before somebody need to get the access to any of the secure information, they required all set of the permission, and they need to fulfill all the networking criteria before somebody will be able to touch upon the Key Vault, guys. And once your Key Vault is ready, you will see those options as well, where you will be able to create your keys, where you will be able to create your certificate. And there are a bunch of use cases. Let's say you created your website, you want to bring that certificate over there. If you have created a web application, you want to create with the connection with your database, you may want to pull your connection strings from there. Or maybe I have created a virtual machine, and this virtual machine, I want to fetch my disk encryption key from the key vault. That could have been the possible use case. So guys, there are many use cases that you can have in your key vault, where your key vault is providing the security for bunch of deployments, guys. So I hope, guys, you have a understanding on the key vault, what all things that you can do. Now, proceeding further, another area of the security is your dedicated host. Now, guys, we know that if we create any resource in Azure, in the back end, those resources are getting created in Azure data center. Now, that data center managed and owned by Microsoft. Now, there can be a possibility that I work for the government firm and they want to have a control on the hardware where the resources are getting created. Now, we want that resources to be dedicatedly created on that particular hardware. Maybe I don't want Microsoft to manage the security of hardware. I want some third party to manage that particular security. And that is the part of my private cloud. But I'm paying Microsoft for the entire hardware. So guys, definitely it will have the cost implication, because you are not just creating resources, you are acquiring the entire data center. So if you're acquiring the entire data center, definitely guys, it will cost you for the entire full-fledged capacity of that data center. But guys, security have its own requirements, right? I mean, there are things that you may don't want to compromise with the security, and companies are ready to invest that much of an amount. So host provides your physical server that hosts one or more Azure virtual machine, and that is dedicated to a single organization workload. So what you can create a dependency that whenever, let's say I'm using this enterprise subscription, and if I need to create a resource on that specific data center that I have to create, so I will be selecting this dedicated host, and it will help me creating that resource in that particular data center. So guys, this option is available in any of the resource that you will be creating. For an example, you have created a dedicated host, and I would like to create this virtual machine in a dedicated host over here. So you can select this. First, you have to create a dedicated host. Currently, I'm not running an enterprise subscription where I have created a dedicated host, but I can show you the option where exactly you can select this. So this is your host group. So your Azure dedicated host allow you to provision and manage your physical server within our data center that are dedicated to your subscription, guys. And once your dedicated host group is available, you just need to target that host group, and automatically it will help you creating your resources in that dedicated data center, guys. So your dedicated host are same physical server used in your data centers provided as a resource, and you can provision your dedicated host within a region, availability zone, and the fault domain as well. So guys, we have covered what are availability zone and the fault domains. We talked about what are availability zones. So availability zones are nothing. These are group of data centers clubbed together and divided in the form of the zones, which have different coolant and the power supply. So if tomorrow any particular power supply will be failing of entire zone, there are other zones available that you can create resources and you can increase the SLA. Similarly, you have fault domains available that within the same data center, you can have multiple racks, and the technical terminology of that particular rack is your fault domain. So you can keep your resources in the different rack, and just in case if one rack goes down, other racks are still be running. So you should be creating more than one instances in availability zone or in availability set in order to create your high availability. And just in case you need to meet this kind of the requirement in your dedicated host, you can target your dedicated host as well, and your private data center will help you creating the resources in the availability zone and the availability set as well, right? So you need to pick the region, you need to pick availability zone and the fault domain options, and you will be able to target that particular resource. So these options are available, guys, that you can use. You can go into the basic options, and over here you can target whether you will be using availability zone, whether zone 1 or 2 3, or you can use availability set, where you will get a bunch of options for the fault domain and the updated domain through which Microsoft will be managing the updates, right? So these are a bunch of options, guys, that can be utilized for your dedicated host. In order to create them in availability zone and availability set, you just need to select these options and you need to target the area. Now, guys, if you have understood these topics correctly, here are some questions for you. So guys, which of the following services allows customer to monitor their Azure platform to provide security recommendation and analyze of your an analysis of your potential threats over here? Your options are Azure Security Center, your Azure Key Vault, your dedicated host, and all of the above. Guys, what will be the possible answer? I request you all, guys, if you are the part of the session from the beginning and you have gone through with this topic with us, I hope you will be able to answer, guys. Right? We are talking about security recommendations over here, guys. Now, which particular service can help you with the security recommendations? I hopefully, guys, you all have the answers with you. Now, proceeding with the answer, guys, the answer is A, your Azure Security Center. I hope you all have guessed right. Now the another question, guys. Your Azure Keyword service is designed to store what kind of the information? Choose three options over here. Application secrets, encryption keys, user connections, certificates, application metadata, application configuration files. Guys, any suggestion over here? Let's see the answer, guys. So it can keep your application secret, encryption keys, and your certificates, right? So we talked about that it can keep your secrets. Secrets can be your connection string and password. Encryption keys can be your RSA keys and the EC keys and your certificates as well, that you can have it. And we hopefully your key vault should be ready, that we have initiated initially. So I can show you these bunch of options practically as well. So you can retain this information for quite a long time, guys. So I'm just going into the keyword, guys. See key secrets and your certificates over here that you can either create or either import as well. And you can design your life cycle as well. Let's say if you like to import, that option is available, guys, that you can bring it from your machine as well. Or you can either create a certificate with the name, let's say my key, and you can decide what kind of the key that you required. And not only that, you can set the activation and the expiration date as well, and you can create your own keys as well, guys. I have to refresh that. I didn't have the yes, guys, if you can recall, we have not given the permission to this particular user who will be able to create or delete the keys, guys. And that is the reason, guys. What is the error message, guys, over here? Your firewall is turned on. We have also created a network dependency, if you can recall. So I have to be on that particular network if in case I want to take an action. If you want to take an action, you should be on all networks only. So I created a network dependency during the explanation, and that is the reason, guys, I was not able to create a key. Now the moment I will be saying that I can create a key from any location now, only then I'm entitled to create a key. So guys, you can see how secure it is, guys. Even I have created a network dependency and I was not able to create it. Now it is for all network, only then I will be able to create a key, and you can download these keys as well, guys. And you can use them as a backup, right? So these are the keys, guys, that you can download. And next time that if you required, you can also import as well. So that is the option available, guys. Not only you can create, and later on you would like to import anything that you have backed up, you can directly target that particular key that you have downloaded, and you can have the uploaded, and you can create a key on the basis of the backup. So restoration will be failed, guys, because I already have that particular key. So I have to delete that particular key first so that I can do the restore, because I'm already having that key over here. So if you will be backing up, probably you don't require the same key already over here. You may want to get rid of this key. So later on, whenever you require this key in near future, you can restore it from the backup itself. So there are a bunch of options, guys, that you have. I hope you have an understanding, guys, how secure your keyword is, right? Now proceeding further, another question. What is your security center secure score? So what is your secure score is all about, guys? So a virtual score calculated for all your Azure resources based on your security center recommendation. A higher score indicates more secure environment. That is one. Another option, that is your risk score. This is indicating the likelihood of being exposed to potential security threats, and a higher score means more risk. Or C, amount of firewall protected Azure resources. Now let's see, guys. I hope as you all will be able to answer this. What is your secure score? Let's see the answer. So the answer is A, guys. It will help you designing your security posture. Higher the score, better security you have implemented, and all your recommendation help you to increase your secure score. So definitely B is not the answer. An amount of the firewall protected Azure resources. Now, guys, firewall protected Azure resources is just one option that you can see in the security center. There are much capabilities are available over here. So definitely this is not the right answer, because only for firewall manager capability we are not using security center, and secure score is just not providing you the recommendation only for the firewall. There are many more recommendations coming over here, not only for the firewall recommendation. So your C can be an incomplete answer, that if you will be going for amount of firewall protected Azure resources, right? So the answer is A, that which will help you recommendation, and on the basis of that you can have the higher score indicates more secure environment, guys. So I hope, guys, you were all able to answer it correctly over here. Now, guys, that is further step by step framework. So this part I will be handing over to Sivesh, that he will be Sivansh, that he will be able to explain the next upcoming session, that what are the offers that Cloud K21 Academy has to offer to you all. Over to you, Sivansh.
Thank you very much, sir. Guys, before I move on to that, number one, good job. I see that a lot of you guys have commented throughout the different questions that sir had, and it's great to see that all of you guys have been, majority of you guys have answered right. If you have answered right, congratulations. And that means Rishabh, sir, is definitely a great trainer. It's just a testament of that, I guess. And for the people who were not able to answer right, it's completely fine. I believe if you are a beginner, it's completely fine to maybe make some mistakes as well, so it's fine on that part. Do not be disheartened. So yeah, so till now I believe you have had a good idea of whether you want whether you are interested in it itself as or not. You are doing pretty well. This is the third session, a lot of you guys are joining in as well. So let me just give you a little brief about what K21 offers you to help you to get to the next level, to actually get to closer to that Microsoft certification that you are eyeing for right now. So this is what K21 offers. We have a proper dedicated two different programs, AZ303 and AZ304, which when you buy one, you get the other one for absolutely free. So it's a 12-week program in which we have different both courses are individual as one, and like they are individual as individual courses as well, which has individual modules, hands-on labs, CV prep, as well as on-job support as well. So it's a 12-week program in which every module that you are covering, there is a dedicated section for theory, and then there's a dedicated section for hands-on lab as well, so that you're not missing out on anything. We at K21 Academy, you already know, we really believe in that you are learning from more practical stuff rather than just theory. So over here for AZ303, we have a total of 27 labs. We start from the very basic, that is register for a free Azure cloud account, and we go till kind of a little, intermediate to expert level, that's protecting your hyper V virtual machines by using Azure site recovery. Then we have AZ304 as well, in which we have around 13 to 14 labs over here. We have lab 13, but we cover around 14 topics. And along with that, this is what it looks like. There are 15 modules for AZ303. As a whole, we like to call it Microsoft Azure Solutions Architect certification. We have 95 plus lessons that we have, 33 hands-on labs, and then we have exam and CV prep as well, along with on-job support. This is how your interface would look once you have gotten the course and getting in. Over there you get there are proper different videos in for every module that we have, and then you also have those hands-on labs according to those particular things. This is again, like I just mentioned, if you get AZ303, you get AZ304 as well for absolutely free. Over here we've got 14 modules. It's a little slight level up for you guys as well. We've got 50 plus lessons, 15 hands-on labs, exam and CV prep included like before, and you've got on-job support as well. Over there it's a similar format, it's just a little step up. So you need to cover 304 to be able to cover in 304 and start learning this. Very similar, you get sample exam Q&As as well. For every module, we have dedicated exam Q&As, which get you ready for the certification exam that will be coming for once your course is done by Microsoft as well. So everything that you're getting, this is what gives K21 an edge over all the other learning platforms. That everything that you're learning is Microsoft authorized material. So this, whatever you're learning, is necessarily going to come in your exam as well. The language would be pretty much similar, and everything is Microsoft authorized. So you don't have to worry about the credibility of the content or of the learning that you are having. Along with that, we also give you an Azure pass. That's $100 credit lab once you register for this particular course that is being offered by K21. Along with that, this is something that I mentioned before. If you want to dig more deep, if you want to know more about whether actually Microsoft Azure Solutions Architect certification is for you or not, go ahead and register for this absolutely free class. You get everything from why you should do it, who should do it, and if you are planning to do it, why you should actually do it. Along with that, there's a demo as well. There are what are the job opportunities, what are the salary expectations, everything we cover to actually try to answer majority of your questions, if not all. And even if you have questions, you can definitely put it in the comment section while you're attending that session. So those questions can be picked as well. This is what the web page would look like once you go at k21academy.com / Azure SA02, and over there you guys can have a look at all the different things that on the left you can see what are the things that would be covered in that free class. But again, there's an asterisk. You have to go and register for it as soon as possible, because we have got limited seats for it. So if you miss the chance, then I'm sorry, you won't be able to attend this free class, and you will have to directly buy the course without really not expecting or not really knowing whether this course is for you. So I highly recommend it for you guys to go at k21academy.com / Azure SA02 to go and register for it. And if you actually go and register for it right now and are able to get a seat for this particular program, you will also get a Q&A session with experts, just a gift from our side. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much. Before you can start with your presentation again, sir, could you please open your presentation? There are a few questions that I believe we've gotten from audience members. I'll just pick them up quickly.
Sure.
Okay, so we got a question from Vijay. How you can update domain different over fault?
How you can update domain on different faults? See, guys, understand. What is first understand the idea what is about the fault domain and the updated domain, right? So let's see, guys. When you say, let's say this is your region, right? And let's say this is your data center. And over here, when you say the data center, inside your data center, there will be bunch of racks available. We call them fault domain, right? Now let's dig deeper, right? What exactly your fault domain is and your updated domain is. Now, further, guys, let's say if you say fault domain, your fault domains, let's say I have created these fault domains vertically, you can use up to 3. Your updated domains are nothing, is the further division of your fault domains. So let's say I have created one virtual machine in one fault domain, and then I have created another virtual machine in another fault domain. So guys, what happened over here? These vertical rectangular boxes are your fault domain, and further divisions are the updated domain through which Microsoft going to release any sort of the updates related to the hardware and the firmware. So whenever any particular release will be done, it will impact only a single resource, not the multiple resource. So if you're looking for high availability, we create a load balancer and we keep 2 resources behind the load balancer. So it can help you increasing your high availability over here. So guys, your updated domains are nothing, further division of your fault domain, so that if you will be using availability set is nothing, it's a combination of your fault domain and updated domain. And this is what we have seen, guys. When we went into the portal and when we were trying to create a virtual machine, this was asking you to select the combination of your fault domain and the updated domain. So if you go to your virtual machine section and if you select this availability set option, see guys, you can go for maximum 3 fault domain and maximum 20 updated domain C. Your fault, your virtual machine in the same fault domain shares a common power source and physical network switch, and your updated domain. So your virtual machine in the same updated domain will be restarted together during the planned maintenance, and Azure never restart more than one updated domain at a time. Now, what does that mean? That if this updated domain goes down, it will not create any impact on the other updated domain. So I hope guys you have clear understanding what is updated domain and what is fault domain. Also
Okay,
mention
sir.
guys, if it is clear or not. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got another question from Krishna. How to create a folder or container for each department or application owner in key fault?
See, guys, you don't have to create containers basically. What you have to create the access policy that what all things that one can access. Now, if guys, you will be creating a particular keyword, right? And if there are bunch of services available, why you will be creating a dependency on a single keyword? Let's take an example. Let's say you have 5 applications running for a particular project, and you have created a centralized key mechanism that the entire project security information will be kept in the keyword, right? Now there is another project going on. Now, why you would like to provide the accessibility for other project users to the same keyword where the security information for different project is already stored? So guys, in these kind of the section, you don't need to create containers. Try to go with a separate keyword for the rest of the project so that you can control the access policies for the users separately in that particular keyword, so that there should not be any particular confliction happening over here. So rather creating the dependency on the single keyword, you should create multiple keywords for the separate project. So if tomorrow there will be any challenges happening in one keyword, it should not be impacting multiple projects at the same time. I hope this makes sense. So you do not need to create containers. Try to create a separate keyword that will be a better for your business requirements. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we'll just book one more question.
Sure.
And there are a few questions, guys. If you have any more questions, please do put them in the comment section. We'll try to pick as many as we can. Otherwise, my team will answer them in the comment section. Okay, so we got a question from Rakesh. Does
Mhm.
Microsoft allow us to modify existing rules for some reason?
uh, Existing rules, just need to have more information what rules we are talking about over here. Are we talking about your network rules? Are we network security group rules? Are we talking about role based access control rules or access policy rules? I mean, or firewall rules? What exactly this rule that we are creating over here, guys?
Rakesh, I you have also not specified in your question. Please put it in the comment section. We'll pick that up at the next logical point. So you can continue. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. Okay, guys. So the next part, what we will be touching upon over here is about your network security. Now, guys, network security, before we go ahead and understand the network security, we need to understand what are the areas of the security that we need to target and where your network security fits in. So, first of all, we're going to talk about defense in depth mechanism. That what are the areas that Microsoft will be protecting for us, and what are the areas that we need to take care from ourselves. So that we're going to talk about your defense in depth mechanism. Further, we're going to talk about your network security groups, where you will be creating your incoming and outbound rules. So guys, you must have seen one NSG that I have just shown you while creating just-in-time access, right? So we'll talk about how you will be able to create inbound and outbound rules, and then we're going to talk about your firewalls. So as I said, guys, your firewall has a greater capability when it comes to your security, because your network security group doesn't have any cost involved, but your firewall is a costly appliance. And definitely, guys, firewall have way more feature in comparison to your network security group. So we're going to talk about that. And further, we're going to talk about your DDoS protection, that what are the areas that your DDoS protection, your distributed denial of service, will be used over here, right? So let's proceed it from here, guys. Now, guys, when you say defense in depth, so guys, always remember that your security is a layered approach. That's the one thing, guys. Now, when you say layered approach, what are the layers your security will have in terms of your architecture? So your security in your Azure architecture is a multi-layered approach, and each layer focus on a different area ensuring hackers will always find many barriers on their way to the most valuable asset of the organization, that is data, guys. So at the end of the day, what is the end goal of a hacker? To reach out to your data, right? Now data is crucial, guys, right? Now before somebody will be touching upon the data, what all things that they have to go from? Now guys, the first thing is start with your physical security. Now when we talk about physical security, what we are talking about over here, we are talking about the data center which are holding all these resources. Now guys, in most of the cases, those data center become being controlled by Microsoft. Until and unless you are working for any security firm or any banking organization who would like to use Azure stack and want to keep all the Azure resources in their own private data center, right? So in 99% cases, that data center will be owned by Microsoft and it is totally controlled by Microsoft, that how those particular data center will be physically protected. Now, the another layer of the security is your policies and the access. So this is your authentication and the authorization. This is your Azure Active Directory come into the picture, that what level of the accessibility you will be giving to a user, to a group of users, or to any particular services, that what actions that they will be able to do that. So first thing is about authentication. That is about your credential, guys, what you will be using. And another thing is about your authorization, like owner role, like contributor role, and any sort of the rules that you will be giving, right? Now guys, your security always work on zero trust model, that you should not be providing any additional access to any of the user, any of the services that you will be creating, because the moment you will start doing that, you will be keeping loopholes behind, you will be keeping vulnerabilities behind, where which can be utilized. And guys, security is not only required from the outside, security will be required from the inside of the organization as well, as not all the employees will be working with the same intention. The thing is, what if any particular employee leaves the organization tomorrow, they know everything from how the security loopholes can be utilized, right? And that is the reason, guys, what level of the accessibility you will be providing. You can use conditional access, that the people from a particular group can only access that particular resource from a particular platform. You can create those kind of the dependencies. You can create dependencies on the network as well, right? So talking about your authentication and the authorization is the second layer of the security, or being a user is a first line of defense for a user, because the physical security is already been controlled by Microsoft. Now, the third layer, what we have is about perimeter level of the security. Now, when you say perimeter level of the security, what all things has been included? Now, in perimeter level of the security, there are two things which has been included over here. One is your DDoS protection, and another one is your firewall protection. Now, guys, DDoS protection are of two types: basic and a standard. And let me tell you what is the idea behind the DDoS protection. Now, guys, there can be a possibility. Let's say you have created a website and there are thousands of requests coming to your website, and that too, out of those thousands, the legitimate requests are only few, and rest of the requests are coming from different IP addresses, and the intention of those requests is to consume the entire compute of your resources, to make sure that the services you are providing to your users will become nearly irresponsive in nature. So they are trying to create so many sessions, they are trying to create so many requests, that actual users won't be able to use that particular service. Now, how you will be able to identify those IPs, how you will be able to create a mechanism that those IPs should be automatically blocked. Now, this is not possible for the human to identify the pattern in one go and able to block that. So definitely, guys, this required an artificial intelligence mechanism in the back end, and that will be totally controlled by Azure. And that is the reason, guys, your parameter level of the security has been included. So your DDoS protection, whether you will be using basic DDoS protection or standard, depending what kind of the security and artificial intelligence mechanism that you required, whether you required protection from SQL injection or session hijack and many more capabilities. But in the backend, that artificial intelligence has been controlled by Microsoft, and that is the reason your DDoS protection is the part of perimeter level of the security. Now, the another aspect over here, that your firewall also is a part of your perimeter level of the security. Now, guys, we'll talk about network security group as well, and we'll talk about firewall as well, so that you will be able to understand the difference between both of them. Now, guys, your network security groups helps you creating inbound and outbound rule, and your firewall does help you in the by creating inbound and outbound rule. Now the question comes, what is the difference between the firewall and the network security group? That why firewall kept as a parameter security and network security group has been created as a part of your network security. Guys, you must have gone through OSI model, right? That we have 7 layers of the OSI, where we start with the physical layer, then further data link layer, and after that we have a network layer, transport layer, right? And then we have session layer, we have presentation layer, and then we have application layer, right? Now, over here with these 7 layers, guys, when you talk about network security is part of your transport layer over here, because the third layer where you will be dealing with your gateways and the switches is already been taken care by Microsoft. And here you are only dealing with the IPs, your source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and on the basis of the protocols only. So that's where your network security lies. But what about if you need to create a rule to block a particular website? You require a mechanism that one should be able to understand the traffic at layer 7, at application layer, that your security is intelligent enough to understand your fully qualified domain name. Now that capability is not with network security group that we have. We have that potential available in firewall. And guys, your firewall can detect not only the layer 7 traffic, but it also have an artificial intelligence mechanism to detect any sort of traffic which can impact your production. So it has a mechanism of your packet inspection as well, which is again totally controlled by Microsoft. It is not being controlled by us. And that is the reason your firewall is a costly appliance, that it can handle the traffic at layer 7 as well, and at layer 4, and bunch of rules that you can create using netting, or you can implement policy. And that is the reason that your firewall and your DDoS protection is the part of the perimeter level of the security. Now, further, when you talk about network level of the security, as I have already explained about the network security group that you can use, further, you can also use your application security group, which is the part of your network security group itself. That, let's say, if you have created, let's say, 5 to 6 rules, and you would like to group them depending on your need, so that group can be created with the help of your application security group. So your application security group is nothing but a subset or a grouping of your network security group rules that you will be creating at network level layer, and it will be totally controlled by us, because we have a control that what kind of the source that we will be accepting the traffic, or what kind of the traffic we would like to deny for incoming and outgoing traffic of layer 4, guys. So your network layer is totally controlled by us, and we will be controlling it. Now VM compute, guys, so we also required compute level of the security, right? And over here, when you create a VM, right, now that VM has been created in Azure data center, so that compute which will be required to create your resources will be totally managed by Azure. But the compute inside that particular VM, that what level of the RAM that you will be using, or what vcores or virtual CPUs that you will be using, right? So as your entire infrastructure is managed by Azure, now that part is controlled by Azure, but inside the machine, if you would like to have any particular control, that part will be controlled by us, right? Now, further, if you talk about application level of the security, let's say if you will be creating a web application, definitely, guys, every web application required a security. So if you see, guys, this is your Azure web portal, and if you see that Azure has also used a certificate over here in order to protect your web application, right? So your application is nothing. They are trying to talk about your website. Now, there can be certain application which you would like to install within the virtual machine, and those are not website, but those are application which are installable in nature. Now, those kind of the applications that you will be using, you can have your certificate installed within your virtual machine environment, and you can get your application protected with the help of that. And further, if you talk about data level layer of the security, guys, we use data encryptions, and that's where your keys, what we were talking about in the key vault, comes into the picture, that your keys are used in order to encrypt the data. Now think from a hacker perspective, that from where they have to get into it, right? So they are trying to attack everywhere. They are trying to target the physical, your access, your network layer, or the parameter layer of the security, both. And they are also trying to target your application and the data. And that is the reason, guys, you required security at each and every level, so that you can give your hacker a tough time before this buddy will be able to reach to the data, and you just need to ensure that how you will be creating it so the hacker will never reach to your data basically. So your attacks against one layer are isolated from your subsequent layer, and your Azure offers defense in depth at all the layers by default, securing your technology, people, and process over here. So guys, you can ensure that your people will be protected using your secure credential. You can enable multi-factor authentication, conditional access, so that identity can be protected over here. Further, you can use your DDoS protection and the firewall for perimeter level of the security. For network, you can use NSG and application security group. For compute level of the security, Microsoft is most of the aspect will be already covered over here. For application security, I can use certificates over here. For data, I can use keys as well over here for data protection. And guys, if you are in the VM environment, you can use firewall as a software as well to protect that particular environment as well. Now there are a bunch of options, guys, that you can use, and this is nothing, this is your defense in depth mechanism that you will be putting security everywhere. Now this is your shared capability of the security, guys, depending what kind of the services you are using. So if I'm using infrastructure as a service, what Microsoft will be managing, or if I'm using platform as a service, what all things that Microsoft will be managing for us, and what are the areas that I may need to look into. Or if I'm using software as a service like your Office 365 based web application, what are the things that I need to manage the security for. So guys, this is your migrating from your customer control to a cloud based data center, shift the responsibility for the security. Now earlier, guys, on the on premises, we used to have our own data center, so the physical security responsibility was on our shoulder. Now that responsibility has taken by Microsoft the moment they are providing the infrastructure level of the security. Now infrastructure doesn't only about your hardware where you are getting compute, storage, or networking, but also you require a hypervisor which will be helping you in terms of creating your virtual machine with the help of the virtualization. So you required virtualization level of the security as well. So if you see the responsibility area over here, right, from bottom to up, so your physical security will be on your shoulder. Your physical network security will be on your shoulder if you are using on premises, operating system, network control, application, identity security infrastructure, account and access management, your client endpoints, your data governance, and your rights management. Everything is your responsibility if you're on the on premises. But the moment you have started using Azure as an infrastructure as a service, now one of the example of your infrastructure as a service is your VMs, right? Because on the environment, on the operating system, what applications you will be installing it, what framework you will be using it, you will have a control. But guys, hardware will be totally managed by Microsoft. And what are the components which Microsoft will be managing? So when I'm using infrastructure level of the security, physical data center, physical network, and your physical host will be totally controlled by Microsoft, and rest will be our responsibility because we have the control on the operating system, your network controls that you will have, like what kind of the rules that you will be creating, your application that you will be creating on top of that particular virtual machines, right? And who can access that virtual machine for the authorization, right? For the account accessibility or identity access management, or client endpoints, that from where that particular resource can be accessible, right? And any particular policies that you will be implementing for the governance, right? All this will be our responsibility. Now, when you will be using the PaaS, now what is PaaS? Platform as a service. So it means your platform will be also provided by your provider, and hence, if you see the operating system which was earlier under your control is now been under the control of Microsoft because somebody else is helping us in order to managing the operating system, and that particular provider is Microsoft if you are using Azure. So if you take an example that your operating system that you will be using in the platform as a service, that will be totally controlled by Microsoft. Now, network control is a shared service, guys, that some of the things are used by Microsoft, but over here, it totally depends by you, us, that what feature we will be using. Probably, I want to create an endpoint which can be accessible from all the locations. But let's say I would like to create a network control, a mechanism, I would like to create a network dependency, and that is under my control. Now, that network dependency that you have created, how the things are getting access, that is totally created by Microsoft, and it is falling under the Microsoft control. So guys, this is the shared responsibility. Your application is a shared responsibility, that what all component that you will be using. Maybe I would like to use the runtime provided by Microsoft, or maybe I would like to use the runtime of my own. So for that, I can go with a containerized based application. So I'll just quickly show you guys. I mean, for the better understanding, guys, over here, let's say you will be creating a web application for an example as a platform as a service model. Now, being a developer, you need to give some name to your web application. And guys, see over here. Now, runtime is what? Every developer required a framework, right? So you need to mention that what kind of the framework that you should be using. Let's say I'm using Node.js, and that particular framework will be provided by Microsoft. But you do have a free hand over here that you can also go with the Docker container application where runtime will be controlled by you. So that is a choice available, and that's where your Microsoft will be mentioning over here that this is a choice whether you will be asking Microsoft to provide the framework or you would like to bring your own framework over here as well. So when it comes to the application, that is up to you. Further, identity and directory infrastructure totally depends on you. You can use Azure Active Directory for authentication and the authorization. And you can also say that user can use their Google IDs as well in order to authenticate against the application. So if users are free to use their own IDs to access the application, let's take an example of the Facebook page. Now, user are accessing Facebook page using their own credentials. So if anything goes wrong with that credential, Facebook will not be liable for that. The user will be liable over here because they are using their own IDs. But there are a bunch of website which ask them to create their IDs on their domain, and at that particular point the responsibility will be on that particular provider. Now take this example, just like over here, that whenever you will be using Azure Active Directory credentials, right? Now, what level of the authentication and authorization that you will be providing? But at the end of the day, that Azure Active Directory is a managed service and totally managed by Microsoft. But let's say if I'm using third-party credentials to access the application, that responsibility is on my shoulder, guys. And accordingly, for the identity services as well, as you can see, that it totally depends that what kind of the access tokens that you will be using. You can create those keys within Azure, you can create your tokens within Azure, or you can also use the third party tokens. You can bring them over here, and that is up to you guys. What level of the authentication and the authorization, and rest will be our responsibility. What role that you will be giving to that particular user, from where endpoint that applications can be accessible, or what policies that you will be implementing. Now, when you say software as a service, most of the things are already been managed by Microsoft, until and unless you would like to create an authentication mechanism that how that particular software as a service can be accessed and what level of the accessibility you will be providing to that particular service over here. So that will fall under the customer's responsibility. So guys, I hope you have an understanding that what level of the accessibility that Microsoft will be providing and where Microsoft is in charge of the security and what are the areas that we need to take care on our end. So security becomes a shared concern between your cloud providers and your customers, and that's what we need to look into over here. Now, proceeding further regarding your network security group. Now, what is your network security group? So as I mentioned earlier, that your network security group is nothing but is your incoming and outgoing rules that you have created at layer 4, that is your transport layer. Now, definitely guys, there has to be a mechanism in order to create these sort of rules, right? So the mechanism what we use over here, we call it 5 tuple hash, right? So network security group is a filter that is the filter network traffic to and from your Azure resources on your Azure virtual network. Now, where exactly we are using this NSG? Now guys, NSG can be created at a NIC level of a machine. Let's say I would like to create a security rule only for one machine, so I can target the network interface card of that machine and I can create a rule for that. Now there can be a possibility that I have 10 machines in one subnet and I would like to enable the rules for all the machine in one go. Now creating 10 network security group for 10 different VMs, and that too I need to create the similar rules. So why I should be creating the rules at a NIC level? I can rather create a network security group at a subnet level where these 10 virtual machines are running. So rather creating 10 network security groups and associating with individual machines, I can target the subnet directly and I can create your incoming and outgoing rule, and whatever rules I will be implementing at subnet, it will by default be implemented to all the machines. So guys, that's how your network security group rules work, that you can assign it at a NIC level as well as a subnet level as well. Now, on what basis we will be creating these rules? So we can create these rules on the basis of your set inbound and outbound rules for filter by source and destination IP addresses. source port and destination ports as well, and on the basis of protocol. So add multiple rules as needed within your subscription limit. So guys, 5,000 is a limit, so you have ample amount of the limit available, guys, that you can use, that you can have. And Azure applies default baselines and the security to new NSG and override default rules with new higher priorities. Now guys, there could have been the possibility the rule that you have created that can be in the conflicting in nature. So how you will resolve that conflict, guys? So the actions that you can create is allow and deny. But what if you have a rule of allow and you have a rule for deny? You have both the rules. Now which particular rule will be taking over? So guys, lower the number, higher the priority. And what you can set that in your NSG, you can give the priority from 100 to 4096, right? So priority 100 will be on the highest. So in order to show you that, I'm going into the NSG and let me create one. Over here, I'm creating a fresh new NSG, guys. I'm not using any NSG of my previous machine. Let's say I can give a name, test NSG, and you can create it over here. And you will find that whatever things that I have mentioned, that that you can create on the basis of source IP, source port, destination IP, and destination ports, you can use it. There are few rules that Microsoft has already created, but those rules are on very lower priority. Whatever rules that you will be creating, automatically those rules will be taking over Microsoft rules, because user defined rules will always have a higher priority in comparison to Microsoft managed rules. So guys, this is your network security groups looks like. This is how you can see it over here. You can go into your inbound. You can see there are a bunch of rules that Microsoft already created over here for us, right? So that internal subnet based routing can take place. And if you are creating your own network security rules, right, you can see you can have the source. You can define the IP range over here, right? So you can decide your source, right? And then you can mention your source port over here. So currently it is given any. Destination can be given any over here. So probably I would like to create a destination rule for, let's say, RDP, let's say port 3389. And over here, over the TCP that I have created, you can define your own custom ports as well if you like, right? Whatever custom port that you would like to define, you can also do that. So currently I have selected RDP over TCP, and you can create allow or deny rule on the basis of that. And you can set the priority between 100 to 4096. So over here, we can go for that level. 497 is not allowed over here because the user priority can be between 100 to 4096. And guys, obviously, these priorities are higher than the priorities, as you can see what Microsoft has created. So that is the reason that whenever user creates any rule, it will be surpassing, or it will be taken over by us, right? So here you can mention that what will be the name of the rule. You can give any name, and you can mention what will be the priority of this particular rule, and you can say that this is an RDP rule that you have created, and further you can add it. Now let's say the rule that you have created where you will be associating it. So guys, there are two options. You can associate it at a subnet level as well, right? So if you target, you can target a virtual network subnet directly as well, or you can associate it to a virtual machine network interface card as well. Now guys, over here, you will not see the option because the machine I have created already running on the network security group, right? So you cannot assign two network security group to the same network interface card. So that is a challenge, guys. So first you have to remove this network security group first so that you can assign your network security group. Clear, guys? So these are few things, guys, that you need to keep in mind whenever you will be dealing with the network security group over here. So let's say if I will be having a network security group already for test VM that we have created, you can see if you go into the NIC card, this particular network security group is already associated with this particular machine. So if you want to deassociate it, you can do that, and you can assign another network security group of your choice. So that is up to you, guys, how you would like to manage, what rules that you would like to assign, and that is up to you. Clear, guys? So now I have just removed the previous one and I have assigned a new network security group depending on the rules. And you can manage your inbound and outbound traffic on the basis of that. So guys, I hope the idea is pretty much clear how you will be able to control the traffic over here. Now further, you have Azure firewalls as well. Now guys, as I said, your Azure firewall has a way high capability in comparison to the network security group because it can also control the traffic on the basis of fully qualified domain name. It has the packet inspection mechanism, which is not the case with the NSG. So your Azure firewall is a managed service and cloud-based network security service that protect your Azure virtual network resources, and it's a fully stateful firewall as a service with built-in high availability and unrestricted cloud scalability. So applies your inbound and outbound traffic rules and built-in high availability, guys. So over here, as it's a pass offering, guys, that you are not managing it, right? You are just using it as a service, right? So definitely, guys, it will be controlled by Microsoft. But in case if you like to keep it inside any particular zone in order to increase the high availability, that particular option is available while creating the firewall. You can keep your firewall in multiple zones to ensure there should not be a single point of failure, because your firewall is not only protecting a single network, your firewall is capable of protecting multiple network at a time. And you can see, guys, this spoke 1 and spoke 2, these are multi networks that will be protected by a firewall. So if your firewall goes down, those resources will be out of protection. So that is the reason your firewall required your high availability. So built-in high availability capabilities are available, and if you like to increase it, you can use zones as well for further increasing the high availability requirements. So unrestricted cloud scalability uses your Azure monitor logs, right? So you can use monitoring capability as well, that whenever any suspicious activities are happening, you can capture the logs. You can integrate with your Azure Sentinel service as well in order to suspect and in order to take the actions as well. And within the firewall, you can create multiple different kind of the rules. You can have this threat detection, you can use network address translation, just like you can use your proxy servers, which will be translating your public IP to any private IP in the backend, right? So that can be used for your web application protection, guys. That let's say I have hosted a website and I'm using it behind application gateway, and I want these website to be protected. So the entire traffic should be coming through the firewall. So before the traffic reaches to the applications or your websites, the traffic has already been filtered, and you know that you are handling legitimate traffic, guys. So these are a bunch of options available that you have. So for firewall, guys, you can go to all services. You can directly target into the firewall service over here. Yep. And you can see this is your firewall available, right? Now, there are a bunch of rules, guys, that you can create, and your firewall is a costly appliance. And how to increase the high availability? So those options are available. You can implement the firewall policies as well. So if you're dealing with multiple firewalls, you don't want to create rules one by one. So you can probably implement the policies to multiple firewalls as well. And that option is also available. You can also create a rule. And here, guys, these are options to increase the further high availability of the firewall so that there should not be a single point of failure. And there are a bunch of rules that you can create. So you can create layer 7 rules, that is your application rule. You can create layer 4 rules at the DNS level for the DNS level filtering. That option is also available. You can also create NAT for your network address translation, where the network you are hiding your actual resource behind the firewall, and many more capabilities in terms of your threat intelligence and malicious IP and your fully qualified domain names, and many more, guys, over here. Yeah. So you can also integrate a monitoring mechanism, and you can also integrate this particular service with your security center to get the firewall recommendations. And you can also integrate the service with your Sentinel, so that if any any suspected activities will be there, it can scan and it can take the action on top of it. I hope, guys, you have an understanding on the firewall as well now. Now, guys, talking about the DDoS protection. So, guys, this part I have already explained when we were touching upon the defense in depth mechanism, that what is your DDoS protection is capable of. So, guys, over here, what is your DDoS? So your DDoS attack attempts to exhaust an application resources, making the application unavailable to your legitimate user, right? So this is what I have explained already, that why somebody initiate DDoS attack. So the intention of those kind of the user is just to consume the entire bandwidth, so that legitimate user won't be able to use your resources, right? So every property in Azure is protected by Azure infrastructure, that is DDoS basic. Now, guys, the moment you will be creating your virtual network, by default that protection is there. You don't have to create that particular protection. So if you create any particular virtual network, let's say I'll be creating a network with the name, let's say test vnet, right? And let's say I'll be giving a range which has already been there, right? /16 over here, 10.1.0.0/16. The moment you will be going into the DDoS protection, by default, the moment you are trying to enable, it will ask you for the standard. Basic is by default enable. You don't have to enable over here. So a DDoS plan is a plan service that offer enhanced DDoS mitigation capabilities via adaptive tuning and attack notification and telemetry to protect against impact of your DDoS attack for protected resources within your Azure virtual network. So basic DDoS protection is integrated into your Azure platform by default. So you don't have to enable basic. You just need to enable a standard. So what you need to do, first you need to go and create a DDoS plan. So go to your DDoS, create a plan, and you can bring that particular plan to have extra protection for DDoS. Now, guys, DDoS protection is slightly expensive. It will cost you approximately 3,000 USD on monthly basis, so that you can give a name, let's say my test DDoS protection, and try to use it only for business critical resources. So you can create these plans and you can integrate with your virtual network to have a extra protection, right? So this will include, guys. So basic protection has no additional cost. Azure DDoS protection standards combine the application design best practices, provide enhanced DDoS mitigation features for defend against your DDoS attacks. Now, what could have been those features? Like your SQL, your SQL injections that you have, your session hijacks. Now, these kind of the additional protection you will be getting in your standard DDoS protection only. Now, once this protection is ready, you can directly go to your virtual network that you have created. So if I have a virtual network already, I can go back. Let's say this is my RG VNet, which got created by default. I have the DDoS protection. I can enable and I can select my DDoS plan and I can save it and I can make sure that my resources inside this particular network will be DDoS protected. So you can enable this particular service over here as well. So to make sure, so guys, that artificial intelligence will automatically help you to detect those suspected IPs, and also not only that, it can also identify the pattern as well. So those kind of the future attacks can be also prevented with the help of your DDoS protection, guys. So guys, I hope this part is also clear, guys. This we have discussed quite a while now. That your physical security, your network, your host, your application admin, and your data security. So combining your network security solution, your NSG, with your Azure firewall to achieve your defense in depth, perimeter level protects your network boundaries with Azure DDoS protection and your Azure firewall, and your networking layer only permits traffic to pass between your networked resources with your network security group, which will be dealing at layer 4 by creating your inbound and outbound security rules, guys. Now, guys, this is the time for evaluating yourself, on the basis of what we have learned so far. Now, customer want to block remote desktop connectivity to their Azure virtual machine. Now, which Azure component should they try? So, guys, what you will be using, guys? Your answers are network security group, your Azure firewall, your DDoS protection, and all of them, guys. RDP, guys, we are talking about over here. So, guys, that I have already shown you, guys, isn't it? What do you think, guys? The answer is network security group. And this what we have were creating, guys, right? We created a network security group with the RDP rule, right? So you can also create the way I have created allow rule, you can create a deny rule over there. Further, guys, DDoS is a type of attack that is characterized by a malicious traffic originating from many
Rishabh sir,
servers. Yep.
really sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of our viewers have commented B as well in the previous question. Could you
Uh-huh.
please mention, like, and some of them have commented A and B both. So could you
Mhm.
please mention why it is not B?
Okay. Guys, let's understand this. When you are talking about RDP, right, you are talking about TCP protocol, right? Now, TCP, the protocol that you will be using, that is the part of your layer 4. So, guys, when we talked about network security group, we mentioned that your network security group will be working at layer 4. So, your RDP is your layer 4. And you must have seen while creating that particular rule, I have created that rule through network security group, right? Now, when you talk about firewall, you will require an additional protection at layer 7, right? And you can create a DNS level rules with the help of that as well. Now, your RDP protocol works over TCP, and your TCP, right, protocol will be working at layer 4. And that is the reason, guys, the answer is A only, not the firewall, guys. I hope it's clear. So if you can recall, guys, I'll just quickly show you when we went into your network security group options, right? The moment I have selected that network security group, automatically that particular protocol has been selected over here. Let me go back to test NSG that we have created. The moment we went into this inbound rule, see guys, this particular rule over here. The moment you have created this rule, automatically the protocol has been selected at TCP, which is at layer 4, guys, not at layer 7. Hence the answer is A. I hope it's clear to everybody, guys, why it's not firewall.
Yes, sir, it is. People are saying thank you. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys. So the next question that we have, DDoS is a type of attack that is characterized by malicious traffic originating from many servers at one time, exposing user data to the public by attacking server login system, or exposing multiple different vulnerabilities to the system, guys. So, guys, what will be your answer? A, B, or C, or none of the above? I hope, guys, most of you will be able to understand, guys, what is the concept of the DDoS, right? Distributed denial of service. And why distributed word is there? Because the attacks are happening from multiple different IPs. So what are those IPs? Those are coming from multiple different servers, isn't it? So I hope you all will be able to answer it correctly. The answer is A. Malicious traffic originating from many servers at one. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Everybody is answering A, except
Okay.
Prasad.
Okay. Any particular confusion, guys? I mean, just let me know. I mean, why? I mean, we have selected any other option over here because, guys, exposing user data to the public, definitely, guys, we don't expose, any customers' data to the public, right? So that is not, the attack of the DDoS. DDoS is to make legit user not to use your services, right? Now, exposing multiple different vulnerabilities of the system. Now, guys, why somebody will be able to expose the vulnerabilities? Somebody need to hack the system first in order to get to that particular place, and your sentinel service and your security center is already there in order to provide you the recommendations. So anything that you are not following, you already got that covered using the security center, and any suspicious activities can be only be detected by your sentinel. So exposing multiple different vulnerabilities of the system could have been the attack which can be detected by your Azure Sentinel and could have been taken down using the hunting process. Yeah. So that is the reason, guys. The answer is A. That is your malicious traffic originating from many servers at one time. I hope this explains why this is A. Yeah, I hope this clear with everybody. Yep.
Yes.
Now, moving on to the another question, that which of the following service is a cloud-based network security service that helps to protect the resources that are stored in a virtual network? Now, guys, I have shown you that practically. So, guys, I hope you will be able to answer that correctly. The answer is your Azure Key Vault, your Azure Firewall, your Azure Sentinel. None of the above, guys. Stored in a network. Let's see the answer now. B, your Azure Firewall over here, right? So your Azure Firewall will be helping you protecting your resources. So that's where, guys, you will be creating the firewall. Guys, any questions? Why it is not any other options? Why it is not Key Vault? Because why we use Key Vault? We use Key Vault to keep our security information over there. Why we use Sentinels? So that we can take action if there will be any suspected actions will be there. And why we use firewall? So that we can have a control on incoming and outgoing transfer over the network over here, right? Which is the part of the perimeter level of the security, right? Guys, I hope you all will be able to answer it correctly. In case there will be any questions, guys, do let me know. And that is the end of our today's module. So guys, what we have learned today, we talked about Azure Security Center, including the policy compliance, security alert, secure score, and your secure hygiene. We also talked about Azure Sentinel, which is your SIEM and your SOAR mechanism through which you will be able to detect and you will be able to take the action that will help you collecting the data, that will help you inspecting the data or investigating the data, and that will help you to diagnosing it further, and that will help you to take an action as well. Further, we talked about Key Vault, which is nothing but a secure place where you will be able to keep your secrets, keys, your certificate. And then we'll talk about Azure dedicated host, that which are nothing but a occupied hardware resources where you will be creating your resources over there. So it's on your private data centers or your Azure data center where you have a dedicated hardware where you will be creating all your resources. Your defense in depth mechanism, guys. So we talked about physical security, your Azure Active Directory, or you can say identity access management security. We talked about perimeter level security, network level security, your compute level of the security, your application, and we talked about data level of the security. And further, we talked about network security groups. And then we talked about the application security group, which helps you managing your network security group rules in order to group them and can assign. And further, we talked about your Azure firewall as well, that what are the capabilities that your firewall have. And then further, we have DDoS protection that we will be able to implement just to ensure that my resources should not be occupied with the requests which are not legitimate in nature. And guys, these are the links, guys, where you can find us for any sort of the assistance required related for your certificate, Azure certificate courses. You can connect with us on these URLs, guys, and we will be available for you in order to help you achieving your goals and you're achieving your task, what you would like to become in upcoming, sessions, or as per your market requires, market needs, and what kind of the jobs that you will be looking into, and what are the certificate courses you can opt for. Right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's
Hmm.
give it maybe a few minutes. We've got 5 minutes left. So guys, if
Sure.
you have any questions throughout the session that you guys had any doubts, I'll pick up a few questions that we had gotten in the initial part as well. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, this is your chance. Ask them away in the comment section of wherever you guys are watching: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And for the people who do not have any questions and you understand the session, please do rate us out of 5. Shailesh over here already know the drill. Thank you very much, Shailesh, for rating us 5. We're really glad that you enjoyed this session. And for all the other people who haven't rated us yet, please do rate us out of 5, 5 being the highest, and anything lower than that is completely fine again. But please do mention the reason why we have not able to achieve that rating of 5, so that we can get an idea about that. Okay, so we got a question from Vijay sir.
Hmm.
Can you give a little more clarity on application security group?
Okay, guys, let me give you one example. Okay. Let's say I have a network and I have a subnet, right? Let's say the network range I'll be using 10.0.0/16, and I have a subnet over here, let's say 10.0.0.0/24. Now I have multiple resources over here, right? Multiple virtual machine. Let's say hundreds of virtual machine. Now what I want, some rules to be implemented, right? Some machine to be implemented. The rule, let's say this machine can be accessible over HTTP and HTTPS. Some machine required RDP and HTTP rules to be enabled. Some are Linux machine. Some machine required SSL to be enabled. Now every machine have a different requirement. Now it is not feasible that I should be creating 100 network security groups and assigning it at a NIC level. That is also not feasible. And this is also not feasible that I will be creating a network security group at a subnet level, because I need to open all the ports for all the machine, which is again, which is not the demand. So what we want to do, that we would like to achieve the task. Let's say this is your RDP rule that we have, or this is your other rules that you have created. I want some rules to be implemented on some machines. So what you need to do, you need to group them together, and that is the reason you have application security group. Let's say you have one application security group which is associated with your RDP rule. Let's say you have another application security group rule that is associated with your HTTP and HTTPS. You have third application security group which is associated with the third rule over here. Now, if you have different application security group rule which you already have associated with the individual rule, you can manage them very easily. You can assign that ASG at NIC level and you can get your task done. Let's say this machine required RDP to be enabled. Assign that rule to that machine, job is done. This machine want RDP and HTTP both to be enabled. Group them on the basis of that, your job is done. This machine want SSH to be enabled. Assign it to the NIC level and your job is done. So you don't have to create hundreds of network security group. You have just created one, you have associated at a subnet, and with 3 application security group, you have achieved all the combination, isn't it? So this is your application security group, which help you grouping your resources as per their requirement. I hope this is pretty much clear with everybody.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you very much, guys, who have been enjoying the session. Thank you, Yasser. Thank you, Ahmad, Riaz, Gaurav, Ram. Okay, we got a few questions. I'm glad you guys
Mhm.
are asking questions, so I'll just pick up a few quickly. Okay, Deepak asked, any concurrent session limitation on Azure Firewall, and what is the benefit of NBA?
Okay, guys. When you say Azure Firewall, right? So your Azure Firewall is also a network virtual appliance, right? So NVA is nothing. That is your network virtual appliance that you will be using it in order to filter the traffic, right? Or maybe you would like to create a routing mechanism and you want the entire traffic to be channelized through that particular resource, right? So your network virtual appliance is nothing like your firewall is also a network virtual appliance which helps you filtering the traffic. So that is one. Now, another thing, right, about your firewall, what is the limitation? So, guys, the limitation is that if you will be creating any sort of the rules and you will like to set the priority, so the limitation is that you can create priority from 100 to 65,000. Now, 65,000 is a limit, guys. Now, which is a very big limit, right? I mean, though we call it limit, but you can see that these many rules with these many priorities, mostly we don't require these many rules, right? And further any limitations, right? Now, talking from the limitations background, guys, there are certain features which firewall may not have, like DDoS have a separate service, right? So, guys, if you talk about the limitations, right, we need to know that what area of limitation we are talking about over here. Because let's say creating the rules is not a challenge. You can create multiple rules as you can set the priority up to 65,000. So you can certainly understand how many rules that you can create, right? So rules is not a challenge over here. 65,000 priorities that you can set for multiple rules, which is humongous capacity that you will have over here. Now, that rule can be application rule, network DNS based rules, or that can be a NAT rule. That totally depends. Now, how many networks that you can create, that is again totally depends on you, because you can create VNet pairing connections, and in one subscription you can have 1000 network, guys, that you can have in that particular region. Now, guys, usually we don't create that much of dependency on a single firewall, otherwise it's a single point of failure. Now, though we have the options available to increase the high availability, but how much dependency you can create on that firewall, that is totally your choice. So usually if you are creating a firewall and you have connected 10 networks or 20 networks and you are trying to protect all of them, so that part is a part of a design that your solution architect need to think that how much dependency you can create on the firewall. Now, there is no such any limitation, guys, over here which can impact your production in terms of deployment. So, guys, your firewall, you can say, have a humongous capacity of creating the connections and creating the rules. Now, whatever we are saying about the limitation, that who needs 65,000 rules to be created in the firewall, right? So that's the few things, guys, that we need to look into. Until and unless I don't see any limitation challenges with the firewall. Anything specific that you would like to ask, do let me know, guys.
So we got one question which I seem very interested. Is which is the best for getting job as a fresher, either Azure Fundamentals or AWS Cloud Practitioner? And before you answer that, sir, could you please
Mhm.
open the slide of our free class for AWS, sorry, Azure Solutions Architect one? Just yeah, it was just pull up. It's around 39ish something, 39 something. Just a little 41. 41 is the slide number. Yeah, this one. So guys, for all the people who missed it out early, you can register for the free Microsoft Azure, free demo class over here as well. k21academy.com/Azure SA02. Okay, yeah, sir, you can pick up the question.
Okay. Now, guys, see, AWS was pioneer, right? They launched this cloud technology in the market initially, right? And till 2017 or 16, you must have seen, guys, a lot of people learning AWS, right? Now, guys, the moment Azure was launched in the year 2010, and since then, Azure is picking up the market. Now, right now, if you see, Azure Solution Architect jobs, so you will find your Azure jobs are slightly on the higher side in comparison to AWS nowadays. The reason behind is that Azure was not in any other business which was related to the IT firms before that. If you take an example, Microsoft is already there in the operating system business. Microsoft has collaborated with n number of system providers for the volume licensing. You can use HP, you can use Samsung laptops, you can use Lenovo, any laptops that you are using. They are already using Microsoft based operating system. Now let's take an example for any business perspective. People are already using Windows Server 2016, 19. So for Microsoft, they don't have to create market. It is already there for them. And what they have to offer a discount to their partners, and the market is already ready for them. So if you see, right, I mean, your market, as well for Azure, it is continuously increasing. Now, earlier for AWS, it was there, but it is not getting increased as it was earlier for the AWS. Now, guys, both the areas have plenty amount of the job. So I'm not saying that one should not learn for the AWS as well. Definitely, guys, scope is also there over there as well, and you can go for AWS as well, because clients are already available for them as well. But the thing is, what current market demands is more on the Azure platform, because Microsoft has collaborated with multiple organizations like your VMware. So Microsoft is also a partner with the VMware. Microsoft is partner with the Citrix. Microsoft is partner, with your SAP as well. So there are bunch of organizations which have already created the partnership. So at the end of the day, right, if we will be eventually working for those organization or any other resources or any other organization to create our resources on their platform, at the end of the day, we require Azure. So guys, jobs are available for the AWS and Azure as well, but currently Azure demands are slightly higher in comparison to any particular cloud platform right now in the market. I hope that helps, guys.
Yes, so I guess we are pretty much done with the questions, guys. If you have missed out the initial session, session number 1 and session number 2, you can definitely get the recording on our YouTube channel. That's K20. The search K21 on YouTube. Otherwise, if you do not want to repeat that mistake again, you guys can go at k21academy.com / Azure. Sorry, k21academy.com / AZ900 live. So that just go there, register yourself, so that the moment we are about to go live, we'll send you an email notification over there as well, so you don't miss out on any more sessions like these. But that's it. Thank you very much, sir, for coming in. I mean, this is one of the sessions where we've got 100% 5 rating. So I mean, I that's clearly an
Thank you,
indication
guys.
that
Thank you very much. Yep.
all the people thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope. Gaurav, please do contact us at contact@k21academy.com. We'll see what we can help you, how we can help you on that. Thank you very much, sir. Again, thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for giving us your precious time over the weekend. See you next week. Until then, guys, take care of yourself. Thank you very much, guys.